Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here as ever for today's video all about the introduction to the ACCA Management Accounting F2 exam. In this video I'm going to walk and talk you through all of the key elements that you need to be aware of ahead of your management accounting exam, and these are the things that I'd like to have known if I was just starting out at the start of this module or just about to sit the exam. So make sure you stay all the way to the end because I've got some exam tips for you as well. If this is the first time you visited my channel before, hello, my name is James. I'm an ACCA qualified member from the UK, and on my channel I help out ACCA students pass their upcoming exams along with professionals looking to develop in the accounting sector. So if that is something that may interest you, be sure to subscribe at the bottom because all my videos are 100% student led, and today is no different because as you can see in the center of the screen, we have a request from the lovely Michelle, and if you've got any questions about management accounting or anything on those lines about ACCA, leave me a comment at the bottom. I answer them all and I dedicate all my videos to my lovely subscribers. So thank you very much, Michelle. Today is dedicated to you. I've put all the timings in the description below as we go through the video, along with the key study texts I'd recommend to pass the Management Accounting F2 exam, so be sure to check those out as well. Because this is where we come on to the key elements of the actual management accounting syllabus. Because it's broken down into areas, or syllabus areas, A to F, should I say. And the first one we have on here is the nature, source, and purpose of management information. And this is where it really relates into that you need to know for your exam, for your pen and paper notes, the actual sources of data, classification of costs, how we actually present that information, and the actual management accounting role. So knowing what the difference is between financial accounting, financial management, and management accounting is really key for this examination. Along with that information, what are we going to do with it and how do we relay that to the actual stakeholders, whether they're internal or external. Coming on to actual syllabus area B now, and we touched on it earlier about data analysis and statistical techniques. And first of all, you need to be aware of the actual sampling and forecasting for your examination. Then, from that sample and forecasting, you've then got the actual summarising of that data and analysing it overall. So again, linking it into potential scenarios you could get given in your computer-based examination. And then finally, that'll link into spreadsheets that could also be tested on the exam. So just to be aware from the different techniques and analysis points of view. On to section C now, you've got cost accounting techniques. Now, widely tested, but you've got to be aware of the actual types of overheads. Absorption costing and marginal costing are regularly tested on there. And as well, accounting principles and methods on there. So what is a relevant cost or what is irrelevant? Sunk costs, opportunity costs, all factor into syllabus area C and highly tested. Now, moving on to nice and easy, one word on there for syllabus area D, and that is all about budgeting. But it goes into a lot more broader areas than that you need to be aware of, that you're going to pick out management accounting knowledge to apply here. So first of all, for your notes, you need to get down the actual nature, purpose and presentation of budgets overall. So maybe you deal with budgets within your workplace that you could link this to. And then going into more detail now, you have to be aware of flexible budgets, discounted cash flows, the behavioural aspects of budgets involving employees or managing directors, whatever it may be on there, the control of the actual budgets, who has the authority within the business, and then finally the overall reporting of them as to say, well, did we go over budget or under budget is regularly tested. So that covers us for the key areas of syllabus area D, but moving on to syllabus area E now, again costing coming into play with standard costing. And this is all about saying, well, try to picture what business you're given within the requirement, or if you're asked about a particular management accounting syllabus area, about a core bit of knowledge, try and place it on an industry that you're maybe particularly comfortable with. So I discuss on the channel quite a lot the actual car industry that I find helpful to describe things about. And that's all about saying, well, what systems are in place within that actual manufacturing area or workplace. Then this is where for standard costing you need to know about variances. This is how they are calculated and how they are analysed. So if we're in a better position than we thought we'd be, we are in a favourable position. But if we're in a worse position than we thought we'd be, it would be adverse on there. And it's the same for the budgets that we talked about earlier. So what did we budget for versus what actually happened in the results are all key areas within standard costing that could come up in your exam. And finally, but not least as well, we've got performance measurement on here for syllabus area F. And first of all, you need to be aware of the actual application of this. So first of all, nice and easy, reducing cost down is the first area to increase performance. Next thing is increasing revenues, and you'll get tested on this in a variety of different areas. And then thirdly, actual value creation, that whatever the business we're referring to in the exam, how can we generate more benefit for our actual customers and our stakeholders, potentially internal or external. We've then got to say, well, this is our performance, how are we going to monitor and actually measure that? And then finally, how we are going to report that, especially to our external stakeholders, usually in the annual reports on there, saying, from the performance in the accounts this year, are we in a better or worse situation? And that takes you nicely through all of the key areas on the management accounting syllabus. In terms of the actual computer-based examination format now, you have two sections that will come up on your exam. Section A has 35 objective test questions, or OTQs, you will see in some of the actual study texts. All are 2 marks each. And Section B has 3 multitask questions, or MTQs, that are 10 marks each. So that brings you all together your 100 marks for the paper, with Section A and Section B. All are compulsory, which we'll come on to now for the actual exam itself, because you have 2 hours to complete the examination. There's no reading time on this, so it's a fully computer-based examination. You've got the instructions at the start of it, but once you actually click that yes to start button, then you have to get going straight the way there and then. Then we have on here for part 3. So we have Section A will assess all of the syllabus. So the external examiner continually comments on this all the time, because what I've seen from their actual examples on this is they could pull out something really, really specific or quite broad. You've just got to cover as much of the syllabus as possible, especially for Section A. There are those 2 mark questions where you're either going to get it right or wrong. Section B, on the other hand, will test syllabus areas, and this is a real keynote to get down, that we touched on it in the syllabus area before. Budgeting, standard costing, and performance measurement are all areas that you should expect to see in Section B on that. Okay, so syllabus areas A, B, and C won't be tested in Section B for you. So automatically you know where to focus, especially for Section B, which is really helpful. To pass this exam, it's 100 marks in the exam. You need to achieve 50 to actually pass it. And we have on here an average pass rate of 66%. So what that means is for every 100 students that turn up to do the exam, 66 will pass it, which is a reasonable one, 2 in 3, that's okay. But it all comes down to the question practice and utilising the resources out there for you. I've also done on the channel a how to pass the management accounting exam, so make sure you get that jotted down in your notes. Some fantastic results from students who have applied those tactics in there, as management accounting, the F2 paper, is likely going to be one of your first exams, but I would recommend it being your second exam, with the business technology or F1 paper being first. And if you're new to accounting, try to do them one by one at the start, just to get a feel for how it actually works, because the management accounting F2 syllabus is then carried forward into other areas, which we'll touch on now, that you need to be aware of. So in terms of exam tips that are going to help you if you've got your exam tomorrow or next week or whatever it may be, and just to reiterate again, all of the syllabus can be tested. So don't go away from this thinking I'm going to go question spot on that particular syllabus area. Anything could come up on the exam. You've then just got to work through as much material as you can and focus on the areas of the syllabus that you are not comfortable on. In my opinion, Section B is harder than Section A. It's a lot more technical, goes into a lot more detail on there. So just to be aware as to how you'd actually approach it, maybe you want to start on Section B first. But again, I've done a time strategy on the actual channel in the How to Pass video, so check that out. That would be what I'd be implementing. As well, we've got the exam time management. The external examiner continually says to us that students rush at the end of the exam and actually put down answers that can't possibly be right. So you should expect in your exam to see answers that have no chance, 0% of being correct. And these are sort of just outliers or distractors, the external examiner likes to call them. And it really gets you thinking not correctly and you waste time. And as a rough guide, I've put on there 1.2 minutes per mark. That's the 2 hours, so 120 minutes divided by the 100 marks, hence 1.2 minutes per mark. Silly mistakes are always going to be in this exam in every student's answers. Hence why fully understand the requirement and read it carefully is so underrated. Because if you misread one of the concepts or you misread one of the actual potential answers, or you don't put down two answers or three, whatever it's asking for, good note to get down is focus on what is in bold and then also what is in capital letters, because that is a guide how they want you to answer it. So really good tip on there. And we touched on it before, it's going to be tough if you're new to accounting. So just a recommendation, if you're completely new in your role of accounting and you're doing your management accounting exam, really focus in on the study guide, because if you do scrape through this with a 50 to 55, then you really might struggle when you go into performance management later on. If you haven't already done the computer-based examination and been on the practice platform that's on ACCA's website, the more practice papers, question practice you do, the better. And just getting focused in on how they actually test and assess these, because so many students will fail this exam because they don't read the question properly, they don't understand the sort of format, and they think they just turn up from reading the study guide on it. So the more practice you do on it, the better. And the topics in this are linked into the performance management, the F5 paper, later down the road in your ACCA journey. So in other words, if you don't understand the concepts now, you're only going to have to come back and relearn these. So another key thing I'd recommend is making sure you keep all your management accounting notes together, because you may actually have to come look at them again, because after F2, you'll go on and do financial accounting, probably the law paper. So you'll need a refresher on it as well. That would be another key area. So I hope you found today's video helpful, going through a nice overview of the whole syllabus, along with those exam tips that could be the difference in getting you those extra marks. What I've done for you is I've put another few videos on the screen. Make sure you click one of them and also subscribe to get access to all my free materials. And if you've got any requests or let me know what you think of the video, leave it in the comments below. More than happy to help, and I'll respond to absolutely all of them. So best of luck with your exam, keep in touch, and on that bombshell, I'll see you next time. Cheers!